Hello and welcome to another episode of Power On Podcast 00Status. I am one of your hosts, Motogata 553. How's everybody doing? And with me is the non-chooser of this movie, Mr. Sushi B. How's it going?
I'm not bad for your ears only, Agent 553.
Oh, ouch. Yeah,
Not bad though.
Okay, good.
Yourself?
So, I'm doing well. I'm a little tired. Just been not in a bad way. Been very active with work lately, but
Yeah, fair enough.
So
I am a little saddened by something in this movie.
Uh-oh.
Oh, just one of the character deaths. I was like, oh.
That's a quick jump.
Yep.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know why. Just
Like,
the memory of this character.
Oh. As I say, that's kind of out of left field.
Yep, a little bit.
Yeah,
but
a little bit. So, yeah. For Your Eyes Only is the movie that I picked from the last episode there. And I'll be honest, before watching it, I was like, I don't remember anything from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then after watching it, I'm like, I think I might have seen the last, when they were infiltrating the, it's not a shrine, it's not a temple, church.
It's like a monastery up on a
Thank you, monastery.
higher end cliff, mountain, what have you.
Yeah, I've seen that scene before, but I cannot remember where I've seen it.
Okay.
So, my memory of this movie is completely blank until then, and then watching it again, I'm like, oh yeah, I have seen this movie before, or at least the scene, the last stretch of it, and I have no idea from where.
Hopefully from this movie, but pretty impressionable, though, that's a pretty unique locale. These movies, if nothing else, these movies always find a way to introduce something that you've maybe never seen before and become interested in a country or a place in a country. And that was definitely a very unique locale for this film.
Mm. Yeah, they were, and this is such a weird thing because it's like sandwiched between two very different movies.
Yes, very much so.
So, yeah, you get Octopussy and It are much more aligned, but the movie preceding this is Moonraker.
Yeah, but is there really anything that Moonraker can compare to on the whole? I mean, you're right. I kind of feel like Octopussy is closer to Moonraker's tone. Doesn't go quite over the deep end, but I mean, even the airplane thing is pretty goofy. So in tone, I can see that. But as like just going way out there and into space, way out there, nothing really comes close to Moonraker. Maybe Moonraker Die Another Day?
Maybe.
Sort of? Because it gets pretty wacky.
Moonraker is the Final Fantasy VIII of the Bond franchise.
So what does it make Die Another Day? One of the random offshoot games?
Yes.
Maybe. Even though we had, I believe, linked that Die Another Day is just a repurposed Diamonds Are Forever. Which you felt was just somewhat of a repurposed Goldfinger.
Well, it wasn't not necessarily just repurposed, but they were trying to go for that magic.
Right.
So, and they just, I don't know if they just spun around a few times and just threw a dart. But, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, For Your Eyes Only. I don't have anything else to add about, in the sense of history with this. Do you have any that you remember?
Same as you. It was very hard to recall this movie prior to watching, and then even during watching, snippets here and there I've probably seen in top 10 Bond somethings or whatever, like stuff like like top 10 kills or top 10 stunts, just those kind of things, and being like, oh, okay, that's somewhat memorable, but as a whole, yeah, I don't know when I could have seen this, and how many times. Like, I have no recollection.
Um, to continue the trend of bouncing between things we like and don't like from previous episodes, I'm going to start with the things I don't like.
I'm okay with that because I have two major ones. But you go first.
Okay, this isn't going to be a major thing, but I hate this song.
I don't disagree.
Like, it is close to all-time high bad. Like, I'm just...
It's bad.
Like,
do you know what's weird about it, too, though? This is the only Bond theme song that actually showcases the performer.
Seriously, but I hate that.
No, isn't that weird, though? It's just so weird.
Well, and I see why they went away from that.
Yeah. It was it's just a weird stylistic choice. I don't know why they did it.
Evidently, Easton was like, Sheena Easton was like, hey, this is the only way I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And just like that voice.
A deep, raspy voice. And then you hear her sing. Sounds nothing though. Nothing like that.
It's such an awful song.
I could see what they wanted to go for this title, though. Obviously, they wanted a softer theme song, just based on the title.
Right.
I'm not saying I agree with the choice, but I can see why they would go that way. And unfortunately, the theme song does not fit the tone of the movie whatsoever.
Yeah. I guess that's why you'd have been better off having Topol just sing If I Were a Rich Man throughout this. If I were a rich man,
yeah, it doesn't end up working out, and the credits is not very well done because it's trying to juggle putting in the performer while sort of like random silhouettes of what's supposed to be, I guess, Roger Moore, and and like previous ones, they show like the gun shooting, and so like it just kind of just a lot of posing and so forth. It just
I will say this.
Work.
The silhouette made me think of later Bonds, especially like the Craig era.
Okay.
Of just that similar style of like the initial part where it shows that silhouette of him and everything kind of gave me vibes of what they explored further in a lot of the Craig theme openings and theme videos and stuff.
Okay.
But it's awful.
Yeah, it's a pass. Like, if you're listening to any of the themes in your car, I have a hard time envisioning somebody really belting that one out.
Unless they're really trying to annoy the the other people in the car or people around.
Or 5:00 in the morning wake up call. Can you imagine back to back somebody singing All Time High and then, well, actually you'd probably go the other way around. You'd probably sing For Your Eyes Only because it's supposed to be more romantic, and then to go down.
Oh boy, that'd be awful. But yeah, so that's a big no for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you want to take another no or if you want me to just.
Well, can I play off of it?
Sure.
I really feel, and the score is composed by Bill Conti, who is probably most famous for scoring most of the Rocky franchise.
Mm.
Not for Part 4. I still don't know what the whole backstory there with 4. 4's actually got quite a beloved soundtrack because it's all that synth.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why Conti wasn't involved in that. But anyways, he
could have been on another project.
Could have been, or I don't know if there was actually a temporary falling out, or they just didn't call him back because they wanted to try something different. I don't know. But so he scores this film, and I find the score again does not fit the theme of the movie. It's too peppy, and if you hear the score from Rocky 3, which comes out a year after this, there's not quite the same, but that's like a lot more peppy and kind of jovial, and it just doesn't really fit most of the sequences in the film for me. So I find that's a big part of the movie that just takes me out of a lot of it. I
can see that because there were points there are some things I was kind of like, oh, I like the song, but there are certainly points where I'm like, I don't notice it so much, but when I do notice it, I'm like, something's off.
Mm-hmm.
Like that god awful pop song.
Yeah.
Like, lyrics aside.
Too many of the songs don't fit for me. I mean, some of the action sequence stuff is okay. But,
the one during the skiing, I think, is a really good song.
Yeah, that one's okay. Yeah, like that one comes to mind. But they try to, when they do the instrumental of the theme song, it just doesn't, that theme song doesn't feel like it fits those supposed, like, romantic moments, or like there's a lot of sympathy from Bond in this movie, right? When he's sympathizing, it just that theme kicks in, and it doesn't feel like it flows well with what's happening on screen.
It's a good song. I'll say that. Like the instrumental version,
it's okay. I don't mind it. I just don't feel like it. I don't know if it's just not in tune with the character speaking, and when and the notes hit and stuff. It just doesn't feel right though.
Then there's another instrumental that I really like that plays during, what does that play? I think towards the end, like either
when he's climbing or something.
Because
I remember that being not too bad as well.
That one, or shortly after getting onto the boat after the torture, the boat torture scene.
Okay, yeah.
There's another one that's like really good.
Okay.
So, like, there's some points where I'm like, oh, I really like that, and then there's some points I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I just feel like Bill Conti wasn't maybe the right choice for. If this was maybe Moonraker or Octopussy, I could see it fitting better for his style of compositions and stuff, but it doesn't really fit for this type of movie. The theme and the type of energy that this movie has is not the same as a lot of the Moore movies.
I will say this, though, at least that it's not interjected with Beach Boys.
Well, yes, there's nothing extraneous.
We get that awful pop song. It's actually really good. The shortly before that, when he's doing the infiltration stuff, and it's got that synth going, that one's a pretty good tune, too.
Okay.
Like I said, there's like some good music in there, but it's overshadowed by some really odd choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, it's not like it's the most ear-grating music you've ever heard. I don't like the flow, and right, as you said, some of the choices at certain moments just doesn't seem to quite evoke the moment well enough. So, yeah, that's my kind of first big, like, that's too bad.
I would say the opening itself is like, it is kind of a reverse of in some ways how I feel about the Spectre opening.
Okay.
In that cool flight piloting going on with that helicopter. I really dig it. I don't dig the Blofeld-like character in the wheelchair thing, and then he just gets
Mr. Bond, I'll cut you a deal, or whatever he says.
Mr. Bond, please.
Yeah, it is a weird choice for sure.
Like, it's just...
It's 6 films too late kind of thing. Well, because Blofeld, all the blow-off that happened with Diamonds Are Forever, and then the character, they lost the rights, so they just kind of forgot about it, and then just randomly bring it back?
Similarly with him putting flowers on
Tracy's grave. Yeah, like, again, like 6 or 7 films too late kind of thing.
It's a little...
Yeah, you're addressing this issue far too late.
Maybe not. I guess it's just trying to give him some continuity, which is always a mistake when it's going from different actor to different actor.
Yeah.
At that point, that's why.
If this was Moore's second movie and was closer to that time frame, I could maybe understand that a little better.
But this is why, like, Diamonds Are Forever has that issue. Because there's that continuity problem, and then it just kind of throws things sideways. At least that's That's how I feel.
Although you just missed the fact that Roger Moore doesn't have a giant mousetrap in his pocket like Connery did. And
Hal Moore didn't get that. He
got everything else. He got to be a clown. He got
to be in space.
In space. Yeah, he got to do everything else, right? He got to have a wild boat chase in the bayou, like all this kind of stuff he got to do. So he more than made up for it with enough silliness. Got to wear a third nipple.
Oh yes, how could I forget?
For a really unimportant scene, basically.
But yeah, that opening, like the helicopter bit's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like it. I think it's pretty neat. But yeah, just Blofeld being there,
right,
as nondescript Blofeld,
right,
as Acme Blofeld. It's just like
you're waiting for Wile E. Coyote to peer from around the corner.
That's whoa!
Yeah,
as he falls down the chimney, kind of thing.
Oh, that's Goofy's sound.
But anyways, it won't matter.
Yeah. Anyways, they could have had something as stupid as that. Yeah, you're right. A couple of the helicopter stunts are pretty amazing, especially like when they have that one where Blofeld, camera-wise, is kind of on the left of our screen, and that helicopter gets pretty low with the guy hanging off the side, and kind of does that weird maneuver as if it's going to come towards Blofeld before kind of flying straight up again.
Not lurches, but just I don't know, it has that weird pivot. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, like it's like, whoa, that was probably more dangerous than it seems. Because that's not just like a little model or something. You can tell that's being done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's some pretty cool, and like those far shots with the stuntmen hanging on the side and stuff. It's pretty neat.
So yeah,
but I agree. Yeah, it's bad. It's pretty dumb, and obviously non-consequential with basically anything else that happens.
Right, and it's just like, why are you here?
Yeah.
On nondescript industrial area.
Right. And they do such a good job of basically trying to show that this is the Telly Savalos Blofeld from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because he's the basically similar body build, shaved head, and all that stuff. But there's that he's about to look in the helicopter, but it kind of angles the camera just enough that you can't see the face, and then you just see like the forehead and then just the head kind of thing.
Mr. Bond.
Yeah, Mr. The voice is silly, hey. It's just like, he's just like, I've come to finish the job, Mr. Bond, and then 10 seconds they're like, no, let me go.
Yeah, it's
so stupid. It dumps him into a giant smokestack. Like, I'm surprised there wasn't like a reverse slide whistle, like a like sound, right? Like a dropping grenade sound or something. They're really surprised they didn't have something like that. Yeah, silly. Not in a good way.
No,
not even fun, right? Like not even a fun silly. Just yeah, it's not good.
For trying to, really ground Bond after the Moonraker experience. They started off on a really bad foot.
Yeah.
Kind of like almost tearing your Achilles on a start. Almost, not quite. Like
at the start of an 82 game season or something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, don't do that again.
Yeah, no, that's a good point though. That opening is pretty horrible. So my other thing I'll save until if you've got a couple others, because I feel like it's the elephant in the room. So,
let's see. That's kind of similar to some of the other Bond films here. There's like a point 2/3 of the film through the film where it's like it comes to a choice.
Mm-hmm.
That choice is, do we just kind of fall off the mountain into Looneyville? Do we, kind of just ride this out, see where it takes us?
Mm.
And this movie, they cut straight ahead to just be like, we're going with it. And it doesn't go into Loopneyville, and it doesn't quite, I think it's because of all the cuts.
Mm-hmm.
that it makes it feel really disjointed,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not awful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like, okay, like this could have been worse.
Hmm.
Like this ending is, this last little stretch of the movie is not nearly as bad as what it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay with this.
Hmm.
Like, outside of our boy Gogol,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
General
Having a good
Gogol.
laugh over all the
Yeah,
events.
like he's just kind of like, okay, we're not gonna just shoot him, even though we could have him dead to rights.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, why not? But okay. That and having a fictional Thatcher was kind of funny, but
It
it was
was
just kind of
kind of
like,
funny.
it was like, okay, all right.
Why didn't they just like film that actress from behind or something, right? Like, because she had the hairstyle, so you would have understood the person who was being implied. Like, often those do that, right? Like, they'll be like, oh, it's supposed to be President so and so. So I was, and it's fairly long, like considering it's not just like here's a phone call and it ends the movie or something. It's about what, a minute and a half.
Moore did not get enough gags in this movie, so they had to stretch out the few that there were.
The bad gags, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, they had to make this one. Yeah, he gets a couple quips here and there, but yeah, gracious.
Yeah. So we kind of end on or start on a kind of poor note, and kind of, I wouldn't say, like you said, I don't think the movie ends on a poor note, but it ends kind of silly, somewhat how the beginning starts too.
Yeah, it's a goofy thing
Bookended.
With a bit typical Kurt ending, where it's just like, oh, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Going away. And it's like, okay.
Bond will return for Octopussy.
Yep. And that he does.
Yes, he does. It shouldn't have just said Bond. Roger Moore's Bond will return for Octopussy. But at the time, that was not an intention, so. I wish they would have jumped the gun. Sean Connery will return in Octopussy. Roger Moore will return in Never Say Never Again. In some weird parallel universe, that might be what happened.
Oh boy, I'll pass.
It's not like Never Say Never Again was probably not a salvageable film, no matter who was in the role.
I'm staving off the character comments, but I'm assuming this is a big character issue that you have here.
Not necessarily.
Well,
yeah, not necessarily.
I'm curious what you mean by the elephant in the room.
Well, I think the elephant in the room is going back to the comments we just had right at the start. And the fact that, have I seen this? I think I've seen this. This movie, unfortunately, just does not leave as much of an impression as you would like it to. If this was not in the Bond lexicon, yeah, like it would just be a forgotten film. And that sucks, because honestly, I did not hate this movie. I thought it was decent.
I actually really like this movie. So I don't think it's quite that it's not impressionable.
I think when compared to the other films in the set, like it's not a standout. And it feels like it should be more of a standout to me after watching it.
Well, maybe it's just from following the formula. Maybe it's because Moore likes to lean a little too heavy into being cheeky and goofy that it just sort of cuts across the grain too much, and
yeah, maybe
you just think of those other ones.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I just feel like the individual parts don't do enough, I suppose, to leave a hugely lasting impression. The villain only goes so far to be like, yeah, okay, that's a strong villain. Or the supporting cast, like, it just feels like there isn't one element that really stands out. There's only one I can think of,
Which is?
Well, I want to get to that point when we get to the positives. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, like I just find there isn't like a memorable thing that you're like, right, that's a huge Bond moment that everyone remembers, like a tank chase scene in GoldenEye or something, right? There just isn't really a
you feel like it's got
bit.
the malaise of Octopussy as well. It's
No,
like these two
I don't,
films.
and that's the thing. I don't feel that way. Like I just feel like it just doesn't have a moment that calls to people to be like, I really love this about For Your Eyes Only, or I really like this about that movie.
I will say I get similar anxiety like I did when in the Diamonds Are Forever bit where he's climbing that part of the building.
Mm-hmm. With the mountain?
With the mountain, yeah. I get this, I'm like, and he's like, it's
done well.
Intense scene.
It's done well.
The henchman's knocking the what are those things called?
Like the stakes?
Well, yeah, the stakes out
metal
and stuff.
Stakes.
I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's done pretty well. And even though it's screened with Roger Moore, it doesn't look like he acts it pretty well, considering.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's just my thing is I personally feel kind of bad for not remembering this movie more. Mm-hmm. And then just I think as you listen to other people talk about Bond, the fondness isn't really there for this movie. And I don't think it's because there's something necessarily wrong with it. It's just missing an element that just makes it stand out. It just
doesn't have enough more slinging dick. That is obviously there's not enough more love scenes going on here.
He sure goes off the deep end in the following two films, so he makes up for it. And doesn't he sleep with 4 women in View to a Kill? Yeah. Something like that. So.
I mean,
how dare you reserve me? I shall
not be shackled. My penis shall not be shackled.
I shall not be shackled.
This is an outrage.
I didn't sign up for this. Hence why I came back for 2 more movies. But you were saying you had something else you wanted that was on the kind of the negative column? Was it a character or something?
Probably the big one. No, I thought you were going to mention some characters that were going to rub you the wrong way.
There's one. It's just a dumb character. So it's pointless and dumb.
I would say probably some of the, and I mentioned it a little bit before, some of the cuts in the movie seem really off. Mm-hmm. Like too frenetic at points. Mm-hmm. And then not enough to be completely disoriented. To be like, oh, this is sort of off. Like, you were just here and now you're like 30 paces over there. How did this happen? Right. Not necessarily like that bad, that disjointed, but it's not smooth.
Kind of like quick jumps and stuff. Like, here's more, but then it jumps like kind of just the way it flows. Yeah, I agree. Like, there's parts of it where I mean, I assume that's the editor just not being skilled at.
Yeah. I'd say the biggest issue, one that I can think of, is the car chase scene early on in the movie. I mean, I get that it's going through hilly terrain and stuff like that, but it just doesn't really... It doesn't gel very well into being like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. This is pretty easy to see what's going on. I think there's points where you're just like, that's a little off.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the chases, like even the dune buggy stuff, right, when they come out over the beach, it's kind of like, here. It's quite frantic. Show this. Oh, and then this big thing happens. And not too bad with the skiing stuff. It's quite a long scene though, so there are kind of a few moments, but
which
it flows
both
okay.
Or because I think the first half is.
I feel like the first half more so than the second half.
Like weaker or better? What do you mean?
Well, I feel like the first half has more cuts, and the second because they're going through the trees and stuff, and then the second half is a little bit more okay. It's a longer shot because they're now in the bobsled tunnel. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, I mean, there's still points where the bobsled, it's kind of, I mean, you have the green screen moments, which
Yeah,
is
for
what
sure.
they are,
Yep.
but it's like, it's a little, I think they're in both ways, they're just in different styles, that you're just like, come on, focus.
That could have
Just
also been filmed by, like some of it could have been done by the primary film crew, and then there could have been like the secondary unit could have done
right,
some of the other stuff, and that sometimes also can bugger things up if that's what happened there
right.
potentially for some of the action stuff.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair critique of this film.
Mm. So yeah, that's a big one that I have. That's probably the biggest issues that I have. I don't know. Do you have any other?
No, not over. Like I said, I primarily had just those two, and the rest of it I was either very forgiving of or rather enjoyed.
Mm. Okay. All right. Then I guess we'll start with the good stuff then.
Okay.
Um, I'm just gonna throw a dart for this one. I overall actually really like the story of it.
Hmm.
Um, I like the idea that it's this British spy um system
Mm-hmm.
that they've basically either got to retrieve, get rid of, namely retrieve, but don't let the Russians get it. Don't let the bad guys get it, kind
Right.
of thing. I
Right.
like that's just a good concept. I like that it's it's not over the top. It's not yeah, it's not trying to be way out there. It's like, hey, something went bad, clean up the mess.
Yep.
Uh, you know, the cookie jar has been broken. Get a new cookie jar.
It's kind of like the item from Russia with Love. The why am I drawing a blank? What was the box that they had to?
Oh, the translator.
Yeah,
Yeah, what's that thing called?
I can't remember
Oh,
now, but
the decoder ring.
yeah. So so but kind of a similar item to
Concept. Yeah,
chase down or protect.
yeah, different happenstance for it
Yeah,
since
like
it's you're
obviously
trying to get it out of
the
Russian hands.
consequences are a lot worse here if that item falls into the hands of the bad people, if you will.
Right, right, right.
But still, the kind of a similar looking unit, and yeah.
Yeah, similar concept. I mean, you
Hmm.
get echoes. It feels like, and maybe it's because of the whole opening and stuff. Like I get echoes of um, On Her Majesty's from this movie.
Yep, I can see that.
With just
Tone.
the tone, the way it plays. Same thing with the Living Daylights. You get it's very similar echoing
Hmm.
going on here with the tone and just some of the ski bits. Um, that's something. Craig didn't really do any skiing, did he? Like,
No, I don't think so.
so he got all the train fun. He just didn't do much
He used a
much in the
lot of
way.
trains. Yeah. Spectre, being in Austria, might have been one of the opportune times, right, when they're on the facility
Right,
in the mountains.
briefly,
But they didn't really
he was
have.
flying.
Yeah, I don't. I think you're right. I don't recall there being any skiing, and I don't think No Time to Die had either that I
It's
can
just
remember.
just not quite his hat.
Did Connery have any skiing? I don't think
Mm.
Connery had any skiing either, really.
He had a moon buggy.
He had a moon buggy. Yeah, I don't think Connery had any skiing either, though. I know Brosnan did. Neither did um, Dalton, because wait, only two films though. So
he was sledding.
and there's that really badly cut out scene of him sitting on that magic carpet. Have you seen that deleted scene? Thank goodness they took that out. That was pretty
Yeah, it
stupid.
was a smart move.
Yeah, it was a stupid thing to keep in. Yeah, I think Roger Moore primarily seems to have the
He
most
really liked
skiing.
his skiing.
Yeah, he enjoyed his stay at Club Med, I guess. all the ski resorts in Club Med or something.
But yeah, it's a story that I mean, it's not like it's really that hard to see that Christos is the baddie, but in the same hand, if you're not like too aware, it could be a bit of a surprise. Like, oh,
yep, for sure. And
it's cool that Julian Glover is that because he was considered to be a Bond at a point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh well, instead we'll just get him for the baddie when he's older. Like that's.
And then he shows up in Last Crusade.
Okay. I honestly don't remember that movie.
You've seen Last Crusade. You remember he's...
I know, I've seen it.
He plays the main... Well, more or less the main villain in that. So
okay, like I have not seen it since I was probably about like 8.
Well, if you see a picture of him, you're probably like, oh, yeah, right.
Well, I saw him in the movie. I know what he's like. Like I just don't remember... Like, I'm assuming he's the one that drank from the cup? And
he is the one who drank from the cup. Yes, he did choose poorly.
Okay. But, like, I literally don't remember.
Anyway, so he played 2 villains in a short span of time.
Yeah.
Whatever, 6 years or 8 years, whatever it is. Yeah, I could see that. And even the way they introduce the concept of him potentially being the villain, it's still questionable.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bond gets this information from somebody he already believes to be, on the other side of the fence and not trustworthy. So,
well, I mean, he's already a bit of a kind of dabbles a little this, little that.
Yeah, I like to smuggle this and that and the other thing. As if
but
it's
not
just
heroin.
Well, yeah, but not heroin. It's just as if he's. It's no big deal the way he says it.
Mm-hmm. That's because Topol just plays Columbo so well.
Yeah, he does.
But
he plays the character really well.
So, but yeah, that's I don't know where you want to go from there. What kind of good stuff you want to add? I have more, but I don't want
to. Well, going back to something we've already mentioned, and the tone shift in this movie as compared to the previous movies that Roger Moore had been in is quite stark. It's, I would say, is there anything close to this? The closest might be Live and Let Die. Like, we have to go back to see, The Spy Who Loved Me. So I don't know if there's, I can't recall there being quite as dark a vibe in that movie. We have to see it again.
Being as dark, but
more of a serious tone at points, perhaps, but I don't think it goes quite as serious as this one does. But I gotta say, like, honestly, it fits well, and kudos to Roger Moore's performance here. Like, he pulls it off really well, I felt. I was pleasantly surprised in how reserved he was, and how his ability to carry parts of the movie when it was necessary for him to do so, and really put a performance where he was believable and not so cheeky as was expected in the previous movies.
Yeah, because I guess that's a big problem that I have, is like the cheekiness. Cheeky is fine and dandy at certain points, but then it's like it goes a little too far.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, all right, how am I supposed to take you seriously?
Mm-hmm. Well, look at Golden Gun, right? When he shoves Goodnight into the closet and then sleeps with another woman and just brushes it off as a gag, and then it's like, don't worry, I'll sleep with you later, and just stuff like that. And there is basically none of that in this movie. It's dialed way down.
Right. I mean, I actually like BB, the skating prodigy.
Okay, so I don't really like BB. I find she's not really... Oh, okay, where are you going with this?
Yeah, just give me a moment on this. I like how he is so turned off.
Yeah, he is.
By how just...
Thank goodness, like, right? Like,
right. Yeah. He's just like, get away from me.
I'll buy you an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
So that was good cheeky, right? Like, that was good.
Yeah.
He just turns down all of her advances with his cheekiness here was really good. Delivered well.
She's got no purpose.
No.
Outside of showing that Bond can keep it sheathed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's about the best thing I could say. Because she's just, there's really, you can just kind of cut that part out or just cut her out of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be like, okay, whatever. But yeah, just the way that he was always like, no, kind of similarly to with like Connery with From Russia with Love, it's business time.
Right.
He's got to take care of business.
Right.
And it's kind of got that similar vibe to it, where it's like, stop.
Right.
But this is also kind of plays into how Bond is. He, quote unquote, prefers the married ladies. Like, that's more of his sort of game to play, we'll say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this sort of thing where she's just throwing herself at him is just like, yeah, well, no, this isn't. There's nothing to this. Stop. Go away.
Yeah. But now that you're saying that, it kind of makes me think more. It is the one kind of lighter tone in the movie for the most part. And now that we're talking about it, I guess, obviously the actor did a good job to play the character as kind of obnoxiously as possible. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't, it's bad, but I mean, it feels like it could have still been way worse. It feels like it could have been even more of a caricature. But obviously she was supposed to be there to antagonize him, right? And to try to get him off his game. And again, like, that's why I like how Roger Moore was able to play his character so strongly and be like, yeah, this isn't happening.
Right.
So I guess in that effect, the character makes sense and is a useful tool to showcase the seriousness of this Bond, since it's never really come up prior to. I mean, Live and Let Die has some of that, but the other movies less so.
Right, as well, yeah. Especially after Moonraker.
Yeah.
To do this, it's like, oh, okay, all right. I mean, part of that also probably plays into the money issue going on. I think there was like a recession that was heading at the time.
Mm-hmm.
At the 80s and like at the beginning of the 80s, and then they just had to pare back their budget.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, because I think they had what was that? There's a movie, it's like a Western or something that completely bombed. Like, just hemorrhaged. No. What's the Heaven's Gate?
Oh, okay.
It's got your boy Christopher Walken in it.
Okay.
So,
I've never seen it.
Yeah, but it hemorrhaged a whole bunch of money, and United was like, "Oh, we're in trouble. Oh no, what are we gonna do? Moonraker made us all this money, but we completely pissed it away.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! Good job, United Artists." I mean, these are also the same people that.
Well, that's why I'm surprised they didn't make a Moonraker 2. To
The Rakening.
Yeah, they could have gone that far. I mean,
right.
Yeah, what happens with those space colonies once they?
He's practicing his Zen gardening on the moon surface.
Something like that, yeah.
So, but like, I get that she's annoying. I do like how he is just like, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So, mentioned before, but I like Columbo's character, or Topol's character, Columbo.
Yeah, I agree.
So he doesn't have, he's doing illegal things, but he's not like mwahaha evil.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm just doing, just kind of doing some stuff, chewing pistachio.
He reminds me of the character from Russia with Love, Bond's contact. Why am I drawing a blank?
Oh, shoot.
The mustachioed fellow.
Yeah. He's got children all over.
Yes. He kind of has a similar vibe to that too, right? Like, as if he's not necessarily doing everything by the book. Not necessarily as a criminal or doing illegal sales and stuff, but he's not necessarily following, the rule guide says to do it this way.
Right.
And Columbo's kind of similar in that regard.
I mean, yeah, because I like that there's, because you had, Karen Bay, that's his name.
Oh, thank you, Karen Bay.
Yeah. So you have Karen Bay, and then, you get Felix, so you get these other kind of operatives in different countries and stuff, and then you get Luigi.
Yep.
And poor Luigi doesn't really work out.
No, that's the character. I was like, I like the Luigi character, and it doesn't really get too much screen time to really show off a little bit more of what the character is about. And I was like, wish you kind of had a bit more to do.
Poops out.
Yeah.
Kind of just poops out. So, but that's all right. He gets replaced with Columbo.
He does.
So, I don't know, and to have Topol doing this, the milkman from freaking Fiddler on the Roof, like, I don't know, it just works.
Mm. Yeah, the performance is good. Like, he seems to be having a lot of fun playing the character, and it's a very jovial kind of character, and the pistachio thing is kind of a cute little sort of tick
character
quirk, whatever.
It gets a little heavy though at the end. It's kind of like, I mean, it could be just because it's like, hey, I'm a little hesitant, kind of anxious here. This might not work out.
Better than a big wad of chewing tobacco or something. And or if he had a claw hand to crack open the nut or something stupid, a nutcracker for a hand.
That'd be pretty awesome. Just
interrogating some guy with a nutcracker for a hand. Like a finger. I wouldn't be going with anything other than that. But I do like the character, and you get a bit of a bait and switch there with him.
That a little bit of bait and switch, it doesn't hit as strongly as I wish it could have, but it is mentioned how he's kind of like his war brother in a way. They fought together, because that's why Christostos is seen as, he's totally legit, is because he was medaled after.
Yeah, what war was it? In Greece or something? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like now he's been a spy and playing double the whole time, kind of thing. And it's like, not great.
Right.
But
I like the Christatos scenes with Bond when he's seemingly an ally. Like when they're at the ice rink and talking, when they go to the
casino.
Yeah, and they're sitting at the restaurant. The chemistry's not like really, really great, but it's just, I feel like the dialogue fits both characters well, and they play well in the sandbox, so to speak. And it feels believable. Like it is a bit of a surprise when he's revealed to not be on Bond's side, just because he does seem pretty affable, even though like he kind of dismissive of Luigi, but he seems to have a knowledge that's helpful and seems willing to share it. Obviously, because we don't know that he's doing this purposely to lead Bond in a specific direction, but I feel like he at least comes across as being a competent person that's not just like you said, twiddling his mustache or whatever villain, right? Like
he does that on the boat.
Yeah, he does that much later, and even then, it's pretty reserved, right? Like he's not like cackling away, like and like throwing.
He's a bit disappointed that
he is, but he's not
the sharks just dragged him down.
Sticks of dynamite out at the same time or something silly like that. But so I do like that, and even then when he does switch over, his tone of character doesn't really change. He's still quite reserved, even though he's now the villain. He doesn't do like a big 180 in his behaviors.
That and a thread carried through a lot of these different villains here is that cowardice streak of really not getting their hands dirty or much in the way of, it's like they do all this bad stuff, but they seem to not have as much initiative as they should at certain things.
Right. Well, they're top of the food chain, right? If you can get somebody else to do the dirty work.
Well, yeah, you see how that works when he's trying to do the dirty work at the end.
Yeah.
Can't even run up a flight of stairs.
Well, it's no worse than Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever.
Right.
Kill him, and then get my sub ready. Like it's not.
What are you doing?
Put me down.
Down. Gently.
It's not much different than that.
Well, yeah, but I'm not saying it's different. I'm saying that's the
common
thread.
I know, yeah, the common thread for sure. But that's even more comical and ridiculous. Whereas here, yes, he's pretty incompetent at fulfilling a task. That's why he has those people to do the dirty work. He can do all the high end stuff of like making business deals come across as being a legitimate businessman with people, and so he's got like that credibility built up, as you said, probably from his time through that, gaining medals from being in the war and being a spy and everything, and now going legit, if you will. So
the do you want to bring up another good one? Because I have a good one then.
It is a little goofy, but I do like the sort of quote unquote torture thing because it's different. And I was like, like it's, and I like how Roger Moore plays it really cool and calm. Like, he's like, take a breath. Like, we're going to hit the water here. And I think it's shot pretty well. Like it's like under the water and stuff. Like I think it looks really clear. It doesn't really look fuzzy and garbled. Like looks decent. I mean, it is a bit dumb that Bond gets cut several times because he hits like a couple of the reefs and you can see blood coming out.
No, that's not dumb.
No, it's not that. But the fact that the sharks don't really
go after him.
Like a random guy jumps in the water and then they go right after him. It's not like you can get pretty trashed up by coral and stuff. Yeah. It's not so much that, but it's how many times he gets cut or scraped or whatever, and it doesn't really amount to anything other than like I guess
too much alcohol in his blood. Sharks like, I mean,
it convinces the sharks to come over, but when a random guy jumps in without any bodily damage on him and they just go right after him immediately, it's just, that's a little bit odd. But I like how, like how they sort of, I remember watching thing like how do they get out of this? Like, I don't remember. And like the way they get out is as reasonable as you can make it to be, being underwater like that. Like, it's kind of hard to do anything else than what they did. And I thought, okay, it was just different. I like that it was different.
Right. It wasn't over the top, like would say Live and Let Die, where it's like, oh, they're not really paying attention to me as I fiddle with the stuff right there.
Right. I'm going to walk away while you get lowered into the water, like, I don't know what, a centimeter per 45 seconds or whatever it was. Like, it was super slow and just silly. Whereas this felt like, okay, a little bit more realistic. And, he's like, oh, they didn't, whatever, he didn't get cut enough or they didn't get hurt enough. Let's go around again, right? Like, let's keep doing this until they basically, either drown or
they turn into chum.
Get cut up enough that the sharks are going to chew them up. So,
I still want to punch Locke in the face. The dude doesn't have anything. Like, I just want to punch that dude. He just, like, he outside of the skiing portion that went a little sideways, he's doing his job pretty darn well, and he just looks like an asshole. He's not even like menacing in a lot of ways. He just looks like a jerk.
Isn't that the funny thing? They keep alluding to how dangerous he is and everything, and he pretty much just sits back and has other people do the dirty work again for him. He doesn't really get involved.
Yeah, from the get-go, he's like, let's see where this goes.
Right. He's just sitting back and cleaning his glasses or whatever he's doing. Because he really doesn't do most of the work. I think the only thing I can think of he does is when he drives that dune buggy onto the beach. And you get a pretty brutal kill, actually, considering.
Seriously.
Yeah, like that's not a... Wow, like I don't know how they got that without getting more of a higher rating, because that's pretty vicious to hit somebody with a vehicle and the bloodlet splatters and stuff. It's like, oh, wow. Unexpected.
I mean, he gets, this is another thing as well, is that they, and in the behind the scenes, they mentioned it as well with when Bond kills him, they were really concerned about it because Moore isn't really the vindictive killer kind of type to just want to murk somebody out, which is not the greatest way to go about it, I feel, but they softened it with that little bit of a toss of the dove lapel.
Right.
And it, like, that worked out really well. So really, because he tosses that and it already gets the car to start to go, and he just gives it that extra little push, so it's not he was just kind of helping move things along. Right.
Yeah, that and to me, I would say that's one of the stronger Bond kills in the franchise. Like I like that, and it is a little out of character for Roger Moore's Bond to. The only thing I had a hard time kind of believing was, unless there's some like stronger personal history that we're not aware of with Luigi, because he says something like, right, what does he say? Something that, his name was Ferrara or something. He says something to that effect. And I was like, well, did Bond not just meet him? Like we're missing something here.
I'd imagine that was. He probably would have had something because he's an MI6 contact. So, I mean,
it feels like Bond would have killed more people for worse things, like other characters that Bond seemed to be closer to.
Right. No, I get you.
That's the only thing I was just thinking. I was like, I wonder if did they have like a scene that we didn't get to see in the movie that might have explained more as to why Bond is so mad.
I think that or also, running over Liesel.
Right. But it's a good death scene. Like I like it, and it's filmed. It's nice that it's at night because, like, it's a dummy that falls down, but it's pretty vicious. Like the body laying on the bottom, and
right,
you can see like a pool of blood and stuff. It's like, oh yeah,
got him.
Yep. And not like some huge, silly, over-the-top, one-liner after.
And he just said something about him losing his head.
Something like that, but it could have been a lot worse. I felt like, okay, that's really not bad, whatever the line was. But so yeah, I like that too.
So yeah, there's that. We've really avoided talking about her, but Carol Bouquet, Melina, who's kind of the female protagonist of this one. don't dislike her, and there's some things I do like that she comes through on, but at times I'm kind of like, how?
She's a little wooden.
She's a little wooden, and I don't know if it's just because if she's just not comfortable in talking in English.
Mm-hmm.
She was there more for looks from what it looked like to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was at certain points she was a bit better, like some of the interplay going on in that little submarine.
Mm-hmm.
Just some little nuanced movements and stuff that seemed all right. And towards the end, where it's like, well, Topol, Columbo's like, oh, we've only got 5 men. And she's like, and a woman.
Right. The big crossbow.
Right. I do like the crossbow.
I do too.
She's like, yeah, she works a few people with that crossbow too.
Yeah, isn't there that line later on by Christophe or something like, "You've shot your last bolt" or something he says to her when they're about to get dropped into the water? Doesn't he say something to that effect? I think he says something about that, like, you'll never shoot another bolt again.
Maybe I don't
something like that. But
yeah,
I agree. I think I am really okay with their relationship throughout the whole movie because it feels very, I wouldn't say professional, but Bond is very caring, I think, of this person. He's come to care about her, and not just like in a romantic way. Like I feel like he views her like as a sibling, a sister, a cousin. That's kind of the way I felt throughout most of the movie, and he's protective of her. And not in the like, oh, because she's a damsel in distress, but more so like, you don't want to get involved in this world. Like, this is not, you think you do, but you really don't. And then that's where when you get to the very end, I'm like, I don't buy this as a relationship in this way. Like, I really wish they wouldn't have. I know why, because it's, again, go back to the formula or whatever.
That, I mean, at least they kind of plant a little bit better, like with where they're having that argument in the sled.
Yeah.
And this is something else that I wish more films did in general. It's like, oh, there's points where there's people speaking Albanian, Greek, Italian, Spanish, and I don't feel like there's enough of that.
Yeah.
It's either got to be like one language or another, and then maybe just a little peppering.
Like a thank you, a hello, like those are get peppered in and out.
They do that in this film, but they also have like side conversations going on, or quips, like during that sled scene, they're going back and forth, and she's like, "Stop this sled," blah, 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 and he's like, "Oh no, just keep going," but he says it in Italian,
right? And
then he goes back to her, and they're going back and forth on all this sort of stuff, and then at the end, the guy that's the coach driver is like, "Oh, that's love,"
right?
Makes that comment. I'm like, "Oh boy!" Like,
well, because I get it, like an old couple bickering or whatever, right? So,
right.
But yeah, I really do wish they wouldn't have kind of tried to introduce that late in the movie. You knew it was going to happen just because formulaic. But I really thought their relationship made a lot of sense. I really liked that Bond kind of took her under his wing kind of thing. It wasn't, he didn't have intentions other than to try to protect her, is how I felt watching it.
Well, then I think that the sense comes more in the professionalism of also she's kind of getting in the way. So go to Corfu. Get out of the way. I need to focus on this stuff.
Right. But she's not like a bumbling buffoon who's like falling into things and he has to rescue her necessarily because she's such a moron. Or
she's murking people. With a crossbow.
Yeah. Well, the one guy is, and they're trying to keep him alive, right? They
And then he comes back and he hits him in the head.
Yeah.
I love that.
Sorry, my friend. I don't know quite. I guess that was a bit of a humorous take, I suppose. Like
I have to believe that was meant to be a little little comical there.
Yeah.
Right. But I do like it. It's just like, oh, hey, little shot 'em up.
That's a little bit silly. Yeah, their working relationship is good for sure in the movie. We're missing the Olympic biathlete, I
Are we?
guess. Well, it's weird. He has a lot more to do than the Locke character. Like they keep talking, oh, the dove, the dove, the dove, and this biathlon assassin, he is way more engaged, way more involved in what's going
He's
on.
intense.
Yeah, like he's kind of like Grant a little bit, without being quite as shadowy.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, because Locke has that shadowy stuff, and then
Right, and this guy's way more upfront of just, why carry a gun all day long as an athlete, so no one's really going to second guess me bringing a gun anywhere.
right, Kriegler or something. I think that's his name.
Something like that. Yeah.
And mark of his time, East German.
East German, yes, he was East
Athlete.
German. He was not ever going to be West German. But and then, like, I personally like the skiing stuff in the movie. I thought it was fun and some pretty great stunts, like jumping over the shed or the house thing, jumping onto the picnic table.
Well, that and you say skiing, but I dig the bikes with spikes.
Yeah, the bikes with spikes. Yeah,
I thought like that had probably been really fun.
Until you had to run into a tree or something.
Right. I was just kind of hoping when he did hit the table, is that one of them would land on it and then just kind of get stuck and then he would fly off of there.
That would have been pretty funny. Yeah,
I would have been
cool.
okay with that.
Yeah, but that is a long action sequence, but I never felt bored watching it, and I liked it. Having
that that little reprieve in the middle. Mm-hmm. Where they go, like he gets into the elevator to go up and do the jump. Right. I think that helps soften it a bit because if it wasn't in there, it would probably have oh man, maybe not, but
it's hard to say. Yeah. But I like going through the bobsled. I thought I was like, wow, that skier is really brave. Like that is super dangerous. Look at those athletes that do skeleton and luge.
Yeah, I'll pass.
That is incredibly dangerous. And I mean, who knows how often somebody got hurt doing the stunts, but it looked cool. Like it looked good.
Yeah, no thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I would be way too scared. I mean, I'd be scared to be in a bobsled, right? Like, and that's way more protective than just being on skis.
Right.
But I can't imagine how difficult that must have been to angle your body and, just so you don't wipe out and slide 3/4 of the way down, and yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was a pretty neato moment. Another moment that is kind of creepy is when they're getting the ATAC system out, and the dude shows up in the gym suit.
Which one?
That gym, like the underwater gym suit.
Oh, okay, yeah, with the claws.
Yeah. That's kind of creepy.
That's a bit of like a horror movie vibe.
Yeah, seriously. It's like what's that BioShock kind of look to it? Like oh no,
because he's like cutting through stuff with the claws and everything. Yeah, that is true. I didn't think about it because even just like the last time we seen anything with bodies underwater probably was Thunderball, and that was pretty creepy, right? Like with the dummies and the faces and like they're bloated and stuff, and we get some of that here too, right? With the guy who had to be chained to the not the device itself, but to the panel, the control panel, and he's still chained, right? And you see his face and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, like this
shark flies out and be like, I hope that was the only one.
Yeah,
hope he was dining alone.
Yeah. But so that's pretty creepy scene, and if you have any sort of anxiety about being in a claustrophobic area like that, I could see that being an uncomfortable scene to watch.
Yeah, it was. I was like, oh, that's creepy. Oh no, no, get him away.
Yeah,
because it's not like you can just kind of cartwheels way out of the way because they're underwater.
That's an octopus eel, the cartwheels and
totally
body flips and whatever else.
Can't just,
He meets a pretty good demise though.
Yeah, they totally should have been dead when the thing blew up, but
right.
Yeah, it's like that's a really that's a little too close to be escaping.
Right, but whatever. I don't know. I don't know if I have anything else necessarily I would want to bring up or tackle here.
Let's say this. It's a movie that's like a little over 2 hours long. It's like 2 hours and 7 minutes, 2 hours, 8 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. It doesn't quite feel that. It feels pretty on its way.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember stopping at one point. I'm going to look at my notes. I had to stop for something, something to drink.
Did you cry when the Lotus got blown up?
Do what?
Did you cry when the Lotus got blown up?
I mean, I was kind of like, oh, that's unfortunate. I mean, it's kind of, yeah.
I don't know. It was, I didn't think about it, that it was just, wow, okay, that happened. Why?
It doesn't,
seems like an extreme security system. Honestly.
Well, from the behind the scenes, they mentioned that when it was airing there and when it was doing the premiere in New York and stuff, people were applauding because there were so many like carjackings and stuff. I was like, oh no.
Hopefully that was not considered to be a security device.
I was going to say, I think that's considered a war crime by some countries, but
probably most.
You play to win the game, Sushi. You play to win.
By any means necessary.
Any means necessary.
Even trashing your own car.
Okay, I guess I didn't write this down, but I did write a time down, and I don't know why, but I wrote down 1 hour and 12 minutes.
Okay.
And I think I wrote that down because I was like, how do I not remember anything from this movie? I really like this movie. Like, why do I like this movie so much? I think I was just kind of shocked because I'm like, wow, it's a war movie that I'm actually really enjoying. This is wonderful.
You know what? As I was watching it too, I thought I would have loved if this was like the second Roger Moore movie, like earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And if this could have set the tone for some of the ones to follow.
To really keep them in line.
Yeah, well, and I'm fine with it like being a little bit goofy here and there. Because Live and Let Die has a nice balance of being silly, but still really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes so late in his chronology that it's like, and they never go back to trying to do some of this stuff, which is too bad. But I thought, you know what? Dalton probably could have done this one.
Well, that's why I say there's echoes of this, like I feel with On Her Majesty as well as with The Living Daylights. Mm-hmm. There's something about these three movies that really feel very similar to one another.
Yeah, and I'll be curious how you feel once, because I did watch License to Kill not long ago, and just right. I'll be curious to see if you feel that falls in line in this grouping or not.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I don't know. It's like I'm very pleasantly surprised with this movie, and I really think that it just gets buried with all the cheesiness.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a Skyline chili bowl. That Cincinnati chili cuisine, we'll say. There's the chili, and then they put all that cheese on there, and there's like a mountain of cheese. And more is the mountain of cheese. And there's just too much of it. He is being too cheesy in all these other movies. Mm. And it's just too much bunker stuff going on that it really, you kind of forget that there's actually some flavor there.
Right.
And this is one of those movies with some flavor there that you're like, oh.
This is the kidney bean of the chili mix.
There are no beans in chili. What are you talking about? That's not chili.
Oh, I don't know what I was eating, man. Sloppy Joes? I don't know. But anyways, we've touched upon it a bit, but that mountain scene as well. I do like that, and like you said earlier, it's kind of cool to see. It's a slower moment, right? Like it's. I think if this were not paced this way, if this were a more in line with, say, a Golden Gun or Octopussy or something like that, you would just expect there to be some kind of pulley system with a Union Jack flag behind him or something. I don't know how else to think of it, but you know, or he would have got to the top of the mountain in a flash kind of thing. Like he just would have
just skipped over it.
Yeah, more or less. Like he would have got a
Goku instant transmission.
Well, not quite that bad, but he would have got an assist from a local truck driver or something to get him 3/4 of the way, and then he would sneak in, you know, around a fence line or something. Whereas, yeah, we kind of get to see the plight of, you know, Columbo says, well, you're going to have to go up that way because this is the only way to really get the drop on them. You go the other way, they'll see you coming a mile away because it's the only entrance that really can get up to the monastery or whatever we termed it as. And it's kind of, yeah, it's neat to see him climb. And there's a couple of the shots where I don't know what mountain he's climbing. I'm assuming it's not the same place, but it's Roger Moore hanging on something. Like he's hanging on some rock structure of some kind that looks pretty high up.
I think he had to. It's somewhere around there. Like I think he did some of that.
Yeah, obviously safely. Like it might have been high up, but they might have had like a net close behind him or something. But the angles and stuff do a good job of the depth perception, and
he absolutely was terrified of it from what.
Oh, really?
Just the heights. Yeah, because he did not do heights very well.
Okay. Yeah, but it's done well, and like you said, I like that the henchman guy is like just trying to kick out all of the stakes, and when you get to that last one, and he's hanging pretty far, that stuntman's hanging pretty far. I don't know if that's screened at all or anything, but
the stuntman did that.
That's crazy.
That plunge.
Oof,
yeah, that first one in particular. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like your heart would stop seeing that in a theater, I would guess, because can you imagine seeing that in like IMAX or something? like a huge screen. Like the only thing I can equate it to was seeing, and I didn't see it in IMAX, but that Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol where Tom Cruise is climbing the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah.
And just some of the angles and stuff that they did, and of course I know he's on wires and stuff, but it's pretty breathtaking. Just the shots they did, and
because he's still climbing it.
He's still climbing it, yeah. Like he is obviously harnessed and everything like that, but there's still like strong winds. There's still having to try to get a grip on those small panes of glass and panels and stuff.
Yeah, no thanks.
And I got a bit of a sense of that here, and I was like, oh, that's a pretty grand stunt.
Yeah, I'll pass on that. No thanks.
I mean, from a cinema standpoint, it's pretty cool to see stuff like that. No matter who it is, whoever the actor is. It's is that Dalton that says something to that effect of like, if it's me doing the stunt and you can see that it's me, you say, oh, that's Timothy Dalton doing a stunt. If it's a stuntman doing the stunt, you're like, oh, it's a stuntman doing the stunt. But for him, he said it shouldn't be either. You should just say it's the character doing the stunt.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, okay, it's Tom Cruise or it's not Tom Cruise or whatever. And it's like, yeah, like I believe this was Bond in that moment. Like it didn't matter if it was more or not. It was like, oh, like that's just that's scary and looks good. So
yeah. Yeah, I would say that like similarly to how I felt with Diamonds Are Forever with that scene. It's that sort of thing. It's like, oh, you know, I get that. I think having that be the nightscape backdrop is able to kind of mask
a
lot of camera tomfoolery going on there.
Yeah, this obviously was a little bit larger scale and a lot more dangerous.
Well, right. But it's in that same vein of masking the limitations to make it look convincing. It's like, oh no.
Yep, for sure.
I'll pass on this. I'm going back down.
And that one, there isn't quite a sense of dread, I suppose, in Diamonds, because he's
Well, I think it's because of how he plays it just so nonchalantly that it just makes it so much worse. Because it's like, it's a tough thing you're going, because it's not just a vertical ascent. You kind of have to like loop around. It's just like, and he's just like, okay, boom, 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 confident, complete guy. I was like, okay, yeah, not happening. No, I'm going back down that elevator, and I'll take the stairs. And here, I don't. It's not the same sort of like. It's not nearly as anxious in a way for me. Where it's like, oh no, you're going up or you're going down. Like there's no loop de loop, no crazy thing with it. You just gotta go. And either you can go up that one way. I do also like the shoelace thing. Because I'm not familiar with climbing or anything. So I'm like, to see that be used as I'm in trouble. Brain, think, okay, do that thing. And then leverage as a way to get back up and stuff. Like, that's a cool, quick thinking maneuver on things. I don't know how legit that is, but it looked it.
There's some level of logic there for sure.
So
that's funny. Now you're thinking about there's a decent amount of falling into death in this movie. Somebody falling off the edge of this, or falling into the water to be eaten by sharks, or there's a lot of falling death in this movie. It's fair.
Oh, I mean, yeah, when he's not shooting a gun, he's gotta kill him some other way.
Well, the guys on the bikes, or they gotta flip over the bikes, falling down a mountain or whatever.
That reminded me of the with Kriegler, how he gets so angry he just throws the gun because it's probably out of ammo at that point, and he just then throws the bike.
The motorcycle for no apparent reason.
Well, he's just angry. Like
I know, but
it's funny. Like it's just like, yeah, I get it.
That's a bit of a humorous moment. Yeah. I'm just gonna throw this motorcycle at you. Why didn't he tear it in half and throw each chunk at him? He was seemingly, the East German Hulk or something.
Like it's better than that. What followed, like the one scene where he goes into that skating rink and then there's the random dudes that are skating.
Yeah,
practicing hockey.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
That part, yeah, you know what? I thought that part was going to irk me a lot more. Yeah, I mean, the going into the net and the buzzing is stupid, but like the guy tries to, I don't know what, slice him in half with a hockey skate a couple of times. It's like, ooh, yeah, I could see somebody trying to do that potentially. And like,
it's what happened to the one dude.
There's a guy who fell on his face, sliced his face open and stuff. There's been some pretty brutal stuff.
Well, the one where they got the dude in the throat.
Yeah, that the goalie, I think. Yeah, somebody had fallen into the net and it sliced him across the throat. Blood like immediately poured out of his throat. They did save him. They stitched him up, and he did survive.
Right.
But yeah, that was pretty brutal. That was like a professional game too, if I recall. Yep. It's pretty gross. But there was a guy who also fell like face first. Another skater was ahead of him. Oh. And he fell face first. And this is before like visors were common.
Oh.
It was a total accident, right? Like the guy was skating away, and this guy tripped behind him and fell forward, and his skate was coming up because he was pushing off, and it cut him across the face. And he also was like lucky, right? It didn't hit anything important on his face, like his eyes or anything, but still, like, oof, can you imagine?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you are skating with like swords on your feet, essentially. So knives on your feet.
I prefer to call them butcher knives.
Yeah, they're like big knives. So Yeah. So and like the body checks and stuff, and you can see it's not Roger Moore for most of the scene, unfortunately.
Right.
It's not like really bad, but it's just it's shadowed enough that you're like, okay, it's obviously not. But there's a couple where you're like, oh no, that's him. That's him doing something there.
Hey, he did something.
He probably felt more comfortable on ice than running.
Do
To his
I
credit,
have
he
to run?
runs.
Nope.
He runs a few times in this movie. To his credit. But yeah, the hockey thing, I thought it'd be a lot worse, and it's not very long, thankfully. Like it's hit a couple of body checks, swing a stick at a couple of guys, and that was kind of it. So. All right. Well, I don't know. Do you have anything else? Like, I'm ready to move to score if you're the scores here if you're ready.
Let's score it up.
All right. Well,
Like,
you did choose
score it
this,
up
so
like some bread. So, yeah, okay. I'm gonna give this movie probably a bit of a higher score than I ever thought I would for a Moore film. I'm gonna go with like a 5.5. I really like this movie.
Nice, nice. Are you going with the 5 or the 5.5?
I'll go with the 5.5.
Okay.
Like this is one I could be like, all right, I'm willing to show you a Moore film. We're gonna play this card. This one, I know others would say that no. Why am I? The Spy Who Loved Me is the best one
the
of
go-to.
his, right? But when you're wanting to present it to somebody, sometimes you don't want to set you don't want to be like, hey, there's 25 movies, here's the best one, or like, hey, there's 7 of these, here's the best one, because then there's a lot of crap afterwards, and it's like, why would I want to watch that other crap?
Right.
Like you give them a good one, you're like, oh, okay. Are all these like this? No, but there are some other enjoyable ones. But no, I really
this one is not of the era.
Yeah, it's got that tone that I like for it. And yeah, outside of some things here and there I don't like, they weren't enough for me to be like, I really hate this. Now, I don't know if it was at that hour and 12-minute mark or whatnot. I know I said it later on. I'm like, I'm still really enjoying this movie. This movie's great. Like, I don't know if it was just getting beaten and bruised by the other Moore films just made it, what's the peaks and valleys. So even if it's just a tiny little peak with some really deep valleys, I don't know. I really liked it. So
nice.
5.5 for me.
Nice. I mean that's where I'm at too. I was going with a 5 for this. I wish I would have remembered more, but I'm glad that I didn't, just because it ended up being a really good movie to watch. And like you, same thing. I enjoyed sitting through it and could kind of, yeah, that's dumb, but okay, whatever. Like, I think that probably benefits this movie in a way, just knowing so many of the other things in the Roger Moore movies can be so much more over the top. That, yes, that opening is quite, I don't know, it derails a lot. Like you're almost like, oh wow, this is just going to be another really bad movie. And then you're pleasantly surprised basically right after that opening theme song, and it turns into this pretty serious, not like deathly serious, but serious enough that you get invested quick in what's happening. And even though it's not a earth-shattering plot or anything, but you get Roger Moore right away. You do get the one thing I was worried though immediately. Oh, Bond, do you know what the ATAC is? And then he just goes right into, of course I know everything about everything. And you're like, oh no. And then it switches right away, and you're like, okay, this feels different. And
yeah, they kind of nipped it in the bud before it was like, oh yes, it's the blah 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 blah. Oh, that's nice, Bond. Go do your job.
Yeah, for sure. I do wish that Roger Moore would have had an opportunity to do a little bit more of these films in this, I don't know, in this level of theme, like darker themes at times.
Just a little bit more grounded.
Yeah, not all the time. Like, I get it of the era and everything, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more of his acting in this, because I rather enjoyed him in this. I thought he was good, and even though I know he was starting to get older, I didn't feel it in this movie. He felt quite engaged in all of the scenes he was in. He didn't just kind of feel like the out of place element, whereas in Octopussy and sorry, not Living Daylights.
A View to a Kill.
Thank you. He looks quite a bit older than everybody else. This one, I didn't feel that. So
yeah, and he mentioned it as well in the behind the scenes that he was like, I'm feeling a bit old here, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's there. Yeah, it's not Octopussy looking old, but you can see it like here and there. So,
but I think his performance kind of helped shadow some of that, right? He wasn't trying to be the funniest guy in the room when he's totally not the funniest guy in the room. So,
right.
I think that helps a lot with the movie. So I'm going with a 5.
Okay, all right, pretty close.
That we are.
So
more often than not, we are.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Yeah. So you get to pick the next one.
Yeah, and I struggled to find one that I really wanted to go with, just based on what this movie provided, as a watching experience. Do you have any idea where you think I might be headed with this?
The only thing that pops into my mind, and it literally just popped into my mind, is Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay. That's been kind of on my radar, sort of on the fringe, but I'm taking us back to Connery.
Oh.
And so we're going to go with Goldfinger.
Okay. All right. Goldfinger.
Yeah, I think we've kind of left that one off the docket long enough, and we're getting close to the end, and I don't want to put it right at the end, so
okay.
Goldfinger.
I was way off, but
by about 30 years.
just
30 plus years.
Just a few years. So yeah, I guess this is it for this episode. Have any comments? If you woefully disagree with our opinions of the Sir Roger Moore, or For Your Eyes Only, let us know. I know Sushi was not too thrilled with my remarks on the remarks I made for our Octopussy.
A clown of a film or something.
A clown of a film, yeah. But I'll try to be a bit more behaved.
I believe you will be on this one.
So, yeah, leave remarks. Let us know what you think and all that sort of fun jazz, and we will return